The election fraud is in your face. It is massive. And the deep state is clearly trying to not just steal the election, but overthrow our nation. Stay tuned. Hey guys, Alex Newman here from Behind the Deep State, and we are getting just massive numbers of reports, of videos, of evidence showing just brazen, in-your-face election fraud. I mean, it's like they don't even care anymore. It's almost like they want us to see that they're stealing the vote. It's unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Even in third world countries where I grew up and everybody knew the elections were rigged, it wasn't this brazen, this in-your-face. It is incredible. And the control of the narrative is also unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it. You've got the fake media. Every time they point out that the president is alleging vote fraud, they say falsely claiming vote fraud, outrageously claiming vote fraud. You've got the social media, tech giants, Silicon Valley totalitarians, Facebook, Twitter, all the rest, just totally shutting down everybody who disagrees with the lies. In fact, I was locked out of my Facebook account by the totalitarian Mark Zuckerberg, and they're doing the same thing to the president of the United States. I mean, they're literally censoring the elected president of the United States of America. They're trying to ban him from speaking to the American people directly. Unbelievable. And the stakes are pretty high, folks. It's not even just about a presidential election. It is about what direction this nation is going to take going forward. And so now we are in a critical phase. We're recording this the week before it airs. They're just, it seems like, on the verge of calling it for Biden. It seems like they're finding phony ballots everywhere in Georgia and Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Unbelievable. And we already have Trump supporters rallying all over the country against what they're calling the big steal. That's a good thing. And we also have Antifa and the mobs, the social justice mobs, gearing up for battle. In Portland, they're already rioting. In New York, they're already out in the streets. In Colorado, they're marching, demanding an end to the USA. Is there no borders, no USA at all? Unbelievable. And that's what they're actually saying, marching through the streets. So what is really going on here? Well, I think very clearly the election is being rigged. Whether they'll succeed remains to be seen. There's now lawsuits being filed in all these states where they just keep magically finding more votes to help put Joe Biden over. And Donald Trump is saying this very clearly. I mean, it's not for lack of warning, right? He's been saying for months. We've been saying for months. Actually, if you go back some weeks ago, we did a video here about how the deep state was going to try a color revolution against the president. And I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. You can go back and watch that. It's unfolding just as we expected that it would. And this is what Donald Trump said in an email he just sent to his supporters. He says, the Democrats will try to steal this election. Okay, just like I predicted from the start, mail-in ballots are leading to chaos like you've never seen, plain and simple. The radical left is going to do whatever it takes to try and rip a Trump-Pence victory away from you. That's the President of the United States speaking. He's been warning for months that this was going to happen, and he was correct. In fact, the Transition Integrity Project, the Democrat fake bipartisan operation funded by George Soros that was supposed to wargame these scenarios, figured this was going to happen. And they said, hey, use Donald Trump questioning the integrity of the election as more evidence that he's a dictator, even when we can see it, right? Even when it's right in front of our faces. I mean, who are you going to believe? The fake media, who's been so honest for the last 4 years and the last 40 years before that, or your own lying eyes, right? We know who to believe. Clearly, it's the fake media, right? And we'll go through just a couple examples of what's going on, guys. There are already arrests being made. This is good. In Indiana, in Vanderburgh County, a lady called Janet Reed was arrested on felony vote fraud charges. She was sending out hundreds of ballot applications pre-checked with marks for the Democrats. In Gregg County in Texas in September, a group of 4 alleged election riggers was arrested. They have been charged with 134 felony charges of election fraud, illegal voting, and a whole lot more aimed at helping Democrats win elections. All over the country, police are investigating, and there's arrests happening everywhere. Michigan is one of the really obvious ones, right? It's a key state, of course, to this election. And so there are reports of fraud everywhere. I want to show you guys a video that was obtained by Project Veritas. And there's very few real media outlets in America left. There are even fewer legitimate investigative journalists in America left. But the guy who runs Project Veritas is one of the few, James O'Keefe. This is a guy who is just absolutely doing the work that if we had a real media, that's what they would be doing. So he has got on video a U.S. Postal Service worker explaining that he was ordered by his superior to postmark ballots for the day before they were received. Check out this video.
Tell us where you work.
I work in the Traverse City Post Office, more specifically the Barlow branch.
Your boss told you and your colleagues something that shocked you this morning. What was it?
We were issued a directive this morning to collect any ballots we find in mailboxes, collection boxes, just outgoing mail in general, separate them at the end of the day so that they could hand stamp them with the previous day's date. Today is November 4th, for clarification.
Who is your boss, and what is his title?
Jonathan would be a direct supervisor, yes. As of right now, he is the opening supervisor for the Barlow branch post office. So and this is anecdotal, carrier down in another office said they watched the postmaster doing it. If it were just a typical day, it would be clerks doing it up at the distribution center.
So 8 p.m. election day, November 3rd. The Court of Appeals ruled ballots have to be received by that time. And what were you told?
To separate them today so they could mark them with yesterday's date and send them through the express system to wherever they needed to go.
This appears to be an attempt to circumvent Michigan law and allow late votes. And you said there was a hamper where letter carriers were supposed to leave their ballots. Where are the ballots now?
They were putting them into express bags to go to the distribution center. In regards to a hamper, there was a standard hamper that all letter mail is supposed to go to, and they had a tub next to it that we were supposed to put any ballots collected today into. Yes.
What made you come forward?
That's sketchy. I don't like sketchy. It screams corruption. Also, knowing the post office's leanings politically, it didn't seem quite right.
What is your message to other postal workers who see things like this?
Report it. How are we supposed to have any integrity in this country if we are just going to let things slide based on a scaling issue?
Are you afraid of retaliation against you?
I've had whistleblower policies backfire on me in the past, so yes.
We'll have to reach out to Jonathan Clark for comment. Hey, is this Jonathan?
Yes.
Hey, I'm a reporter with Project Veritas, James O'Keefe here, and I have information that you guys have been stamping ballots with the previous date, November 3rd. He just hung up the phone on me. He just hung up the phone on me.
All right, pretty incredible, but not really if you knew what was coming. If you've been reading the New American, if you've been watching our videos, you would have known that this is what they were planning to do. There's another one from Project Veritas, this one out of Nevada, where we have a postal worker pledging on camera that he will use voter fraud, if possible, to help remove Donald Trump. Notice there's another one of the crucial states in this election. Check it out.
A postal worker in Nevada offered our undercover journalist a handful of ballots that was sent to the wrong address. This is another example of USPS voter fraud.
Some of us got some extra ballots and stuff. How many of those you getting lately? People with extra ballots are undeliverable or?
It's been quite a few.
Quite a few?
You know, people are sending based off their old address. So, yeah, it's been quite a few.
Well, if it wasn't me, though, hypothetically, though, it could be done.
I can't say nothing because I don't know. I'm just a delivery.
All right. But there's a lot of them out there like that, though,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, there are.
Where's the most of them at then? If we were hypothetically.
A handful?
Yeah, where can I find a handful of them?
I don't know, man. Hey, I'm almost finished with the boxes today.
All right, brother.
Hey, not a problem, man. I'm going to see if I can get you some, like a little nice little handful. What's your unit number?
You're going to get a handful?
What's your unit number?
322. You're going to get a handful?
I'll probably I don't know, maybe. If it's in there, I ain't doing it.
And you'll put some in there for me?
I might, man.
All right, brother.
See what I can do.
All right, guys, some incredible stuff happening in Detroit, also, of course, in Michigan, where observers and Republicans were being barred from actually watching the vote count. They put up tables and pizza boxes and cardboard so that nobody could see what was going in there. Unbelievable. What do they got to hide, right? If you don't have anything to hide, why do you got to be so shady, okay? Unbelievable stuff going on. And I think I have an idea of what they are trying to hide. We know, for example, that in Michigan, there have been numerous dead people voting, okay? If you go to the Michigan Department of State's Voter Information Center, and you can verify this for yourself, at least you could at the time of this recording, you have a 118-year-old man named William Bradley. He got an absentee ballot in Wayne County, Michigan, and he submitted it. And I would bet you anything, if I were a betting man, that he submitted it, filled out for Democrats, and of course he obviously didn't submit a ballot from the grave. Something very fishy is going on here. Bradley actually died in 1984. Okay. We also have a 120-year-old woman named June Eichen, born literally in 1900. And she voted absentee in Jackson County, Michigan. We've got Donna Bridges, born in 1901. She voted absentee in Michigan's Mason County. Okay, and we could go on. Are you starting to get the picture? Right, and what you see is a pattern. Dead people always vote for Democrats, just like illegal immigrants, just like elderly people whose ballots were harvested from their nursing homes. There's a clear and consistent pattern. Now, if you watch the fake fact checkers, they'll tell you, oh no, that's fake news, that's disinformation. How do we know? Because we called the government of Michigan, and they told us that when they find out dead people have been voting, they don't count those ballots. Well, all they actually did was confirm that the reports are true, that your eyes are not lying to you when you go to the Michigan Voter Information Center and check this all yourself, and you see that, yes, these people voted. All they did was confirm that that was true, and that they are trying to mislead you by saying it's false, because once we find out about it, then we don't count those votes anymore. Okay? If they hadn't found out about it, thanks to the work of legitimate investigators, then the dead people's votes would have counted. Okay, guys? You are being deceived by the fact checkers, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows that at this point, even the liberals. But, you know, just throwing it out there, guys. Now, we've got Republican officials from across America saying we need to send law enforcement to these places. Absolutely, we do. In Florida, we also had a man arrested for voting using ballots belonging to the dead, right? And again, I bet you the dead people voted for Democrats, okay? It always is. Now, Wisconsin was an interesting case. Also, Wisconsin is crucial to the 2020 election, and there is some really interesting data there. Now, we know that the state counted significantly more votes in 2020 than they actually had registered voters in 2018. That's interesting. I mean, not completely outside the realm of possibility, but very interesting. Even the voter registration numbers for 2020, they had 3.68 million people registered to vote, and they had 3.3 million people voting. That means that about 90% of registered voters actually turned out. Now, the fake fact checkers will say, oh, well, you know, in in Wisconsin, you can register to vote on the same day. So clearly there's nothing to see here. Don't worry about it, guys. Everything is fine, right? Baloney, guys. Absolute baloney. We are being deceived here, and more than a few people have pointed this out, including the president's two sons on social media. We've also got some really weird, funky stuff going on in Milwaukee. There were early reports based on the government's data that we had some wards or precincts where over 200% of registered voters turned out to vote. That was funny. Now, I actually called the Milwaukee County election people and said, what in the world is going on here? They said, oh, this is serious. We'll get right back to you. We'll have somebody call you right back. Well, they didn't call me back for like 8 hours. And then this guy, I can't give his name because he was too chicken to speak on the record. He said, I'm not authorized to speak on the record. And he said, oh, no, it's all fake news. It's all conspiracy theory. Donald Trump is making up conspiracy theories about voter fraud. Well, no, actually, it's a lot more significant than that. And I said, you know, surely you're not saying that all allegations of voter fraud are a conspiracy theory, right? He's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no voter fraud. I said, well, you know, the Heritage Foundation just released a database showing more than 1,250 documented, proven cases of vote fraud over the last 2 decades or so. Are those fraudulent? Are those a conspiracy theory by Donald Trump? Oh, yeah, no one trusts the Heritage Foundation. Nobody I respect believes the Heritage Foundation. I said, well, you know, Republicans mostly respect the Heritage, and I have my own quibbles with them. Don't get me started. But I said, well, Republicans, trust Heritage Foundation. Are you being partisan? He said, oh, no, I'm not being partisan. I have things to do. I can't talk anymore. So anyways, take that for what it's worth. Very, very shady stuff going on here, guys. And, you know, people think, well, at least in Republican states that, you know, they're not going to do this stuff. Oh, yes, they will. Okay. In Texas, Harris County, which is where Houston is, seems to be the epicenter of the vote fraud. We've got a sworn affidavit by a poll watcher and retired police officer, Raymond Stewart, and he said that he saw, and I'm quoting here, a large stack of Texas driver's licenses being used by election workers to fill out ballots at a drive-through voting window. Well, what could go wrong with a drive-through voting window with a big stack of phony Texas driver's licenses? Really, guys? Really unbelievable. And of course, this guy is a retired police officer, right? He is a retired captain in the police department there. Incredible. And so Stewart said that staff would come inside from the drive-through voting booth and scan a driver's license from someone outside and get a ticket and return outside. He says, but sometimes a staff member would search through the stack of driver's licenses on the table, then scan it, receive a ticket, and also go outside to the drive-through booth. As a police officer, I quickly became suspicious that they were committing a crime by having unattended driver's licenses just sitting on a table, and that possible voting crimes were being committed using these forms of ID. Okay, that is a sworn affidavit, penalty of perjury, by a retired police officer who was watching the election fraud take place in Harris County in Texas. And that is just scratching the surface, guys. We've got the state political director for Biden's campaign, a guy by the name of Dallas Jones, who runs a thing called Elite Change. True story. He's blocked everybody from seeing what he does on Twitter. But now there are multiple affidavits filed at the Texas Supreme Court accusing him of operating a massive illegal ballot harvesting scheme involving as many as 700,000 ballots. Okay, these affidavits, one of them was made by a former FBI agent, one of them was made by a retired police officer, and they allege that Jones was ordering these ballots to be filled out for Democrats in the name of homeless people, dead people, elderly people whose votes were stolen from nursing homes, and so on. This story was broken by National File, an up-and-coming wonderful website that is doing really some just groundbreaking reporting. According to this Houston Police Department Captain Mark Aguirre, he says this scheme involves voter fraud on a massive scale. Okay, remember all that fake news? The Democrats are going to flip Texas. Woohoo! Yeah, I guess if you have hundreds of thousands of fake ballots that you're filling out for dead people and homeless people and elderly people whose ballots you stole, then yeah, maybe you could flip Texas, right? Guys, the voter fraud is off the charts here. And this is in Texas, okay? A conservative state run by Republicans with a Republican attorney general and a Republican governor. According to this affidavit, other people involved in this criminal operation were Texas State Senator Boris Miles, a political consultant by the name of Gerald Womack, and Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis. The affidavit says this entire operation is being run by elite politicians of the Democrat Party in the Houston, Harris County area. Okay, we've got a Project Veritas video out of San Antonio where you can see a person helping an elderly citizen change her vote from Republican to Democrat. It's on camera, guys. State Attorney General came out and said that what's shown in this video is shocking, and it should alarm all Texans who care about election integrity.
You chose a Republican, not a Democrat, right? Can I do that? You can vote for whoever you want, but our conversation that we had, you said you were voting for Hager because you were going straight Democrat. So that way you were voting for the straight Dem. Is that what you want to do, correct?
We've also got in Arizona the so-called Sharpie Gate, where voters were handed Sharpies to fill out their ballots. Of course, those ballots could not be read by the machines, and so they were trashed. We've got the lead plaintiff, Lori Aguilera, who is being represented by the Public Interest Legal Foundation, a hard-hitting organization trying to secure the integrity of the vote. Incredibly important here, guys. What's going on? The lawsuit that has been filed says the plaintiff fed her ballot into the box. The ballot box failed to properly register her vote, causing a poll worker to cancel her ballot in the presence of plaintiff. Plaintiff requested a new ballot, but upon information and belief, upon consultation with the Maricopa County Recorder's Office, the poll workers refused to provide her with one. Guys, are you getting this? Massive vote fraud. I've said from the beginning, they stole Arizona. They're still trying to steal Arizona. We must not let them do it. Now, the president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation has put out a statement here. He said these voters were denied the right to vote. Unacceptable, guys. Absolutely unacceptable. Also, and we're just doing kind of an overview, guys. There are endless reports just like these. The fake fact checkers can't keep up with their fake debunkings fast enough. But there's a couple of shows that I go on pretty regularly. There's Dave Janda, who's got Operation Freedom, and he's got a wonderful show out of Michigan. And then there's Brandon House, who does Worldview Weekend, another wonderful radio host, nationally syndicated conservative Christian talk show. And they have brought on some incredibly interesting guests, former high-ranking intelligence and military people. One of them is General Tom McInerney, and he was a general in the Air Force, and what he has alleged in these interviews is that with collusion from the intelligence agencies, including CIA and others. These Democrats, the deep state, have rigged the computers that count the votes. He says they have got this software called Scorecard that is stealing the elections by tampering with the computers at the transfer points. Okay, guys? This is unbelievable, and yet it's all in our face. Now, I want to show you a quick video of Sleepy Joe Biden talking about his massive voter fraud operation. Check it out.
Secondly, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our administration, the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Okay, Joe Biden said it, not me, right? The most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. Now, the fake fact checkers and the fake media say, oh, he's just an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, he didn't mean to say that. He didn't really mean voter fraud. He meant voter, okay, who are you going to believe? The fake media, who's been so honest for the last 4 years, and, the fake Russia collusion scandal, the fake Ukraine gate scandal. Who are you going to believe? The lying media that has been doing nothing but lying for as long as we can remember, or Joe Biden, who's also a liar but occasionally speaks the truth? Well, I think it's true. They put together the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud operation in all of American political history. Guys, we are witnessing a coup d'etat. Next, you're going to see the rent-a-mobs in the street, the Pantifa, I call them, and the Black Lives Matter terror mobs, and the Democrats and the looters and the rioting. It's going to get ugly, guys. Massive voter fraud coming out of these Democrat-controlled jurisdictions, the fake media and the big tech companies trying fiendishly to silence everybody who points it out. And yet we here at The New American have been warning you from the start that this was coming. You got to prepare. Guys, it's going to get crazy. Like we told you some weeks or maybe even some months ago about the color revolutions, right? They have a lot of experience overthrowing governments. This is not just regular old election fraud, right? Regular old election fraud and corruption we can live with. Yeah, some guy's getting his crony elected to the county commission so he can get, kickbacks when they do road building contracts. Okay, that's wrong. It's evil. They all belong in jail. But this is much more serious, guys. They're not just trying to steal our money. They're trying to steal our country. They're trying to steal our freedom. They're trying to steal our Constitution. So, I believe that it's a very real chance that Donald Trump will make it through all this. In fact, the globalist deep staters like Max Boot have been talking about this for a while now, but they are going to try to completely delegitimize American elections, completely delegitimize American institutions, completely delegitimize the Electoral College, completely delegitimize Donald Trump, and ultimately completely delegitimize the United States of America. And if they can, they want to use Donald Trump as the fall guy, the scapegoat, and his supporters who didn't want globalism, who wanted to put America first, who believed in free markets and deregulation and things like that. They want to use that as the fall guy, the scapegoat for the coming economic collapse that they've engineered through the Federal Reserve and through the COVID lockdowns, and of course the coming tsunami of riots, protests, violence, etc. Guys, this is a serious time in our history. What happens over the next few days, over the next few weeks, over the next few months, I think will determine whether our children will live in a free country or not. So pay attention. Subscribe to The New American Magazine, guys. The wave of censorship is out of control, but there's something that they can't censor. That is The New American Magazine, right? You'll get this delivered straight to your door. Best publication out there. Make sure you are getting it. You'll get 2 copies a month, and you can stay informed with all the intelligence you need to make sure our freedom does not perish. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Alex Newman. This is Behind the Deep State. God bless you all, and until next time. It's no surprise that Facebook and YouTube and all the titans and tyrants of Silicon Valley, the big tech companies, are censoring our content. We might not even be on these platforms for too much longer with the way things are going, folks. That's why it's all the more important that you head over to thenewamerican.com. You can sign up for our daily, weekly, or even monthly headlines. They'll get emailed directly to you. Better yet, you can subscribe to The New American Magazine. You'll get these delivered right to your door. And they can't censor a printed magazine. So get over to thenewamerican.com, sign up today, and stay informed in the fight for freedom.